What if the greatest spiritual revolution of our century wasn't unfolding in the spotlight, but in absolute silence? In a nation where government control looms over all matters of public and private life, something remarkable is quietly taking shape. While much of the world looks to China strictly for its massive economic might and global political influence, a much deeper, hidden transformation is underway behind walls of strict censorship and surveillance. Catholicism, far from vanishing, is quietly and aggressively flourishing. It moves like a protected flame in a storm, hidden but fiercely guarded by hands that refuse to let it die. It is not growing through mass campaigns, loud revivals, or state support. It is flourishing in whispers, in secret rural chapels, and in the hearts of a new generation choosing faith over fear. To understand why Catholicism is booming in China, we must look beyond the geopolitical headlines and into the shadows. This is the story of a church that refuses to die. To understand this quiet revolution, we have to look at the long and complex history of Christianity in the region. While Catholicism first reached China in the 1200s, it was the late 16th century that set the foundation. The Jesuit priest Matteo Ricci did not attempt to dominate Chinese culture or impose Western ideas. Instead, he executed a masterclass in cultural integration. He mastered the Chinese language, deeply studied Confucian philosophy, and developed sincere relationships with local scholars. His goal was to harmonize Christian truth with ancient Chinese wisdom. This brilliant approach succeeded in gaining him rare, unprecedented access to the Ming dynasty's imperial court. However, this promising beginning soon met a brutal political storm. As European colonial powers expanded across Asia, Chinese authorities began to associate Catholic missions with foreign control. This suspicion exploded after the devastating Opium Wars and the arrival of unequal treaties. Christianity came to be viewed by many not as a faith of peace, but as a dangerous symbol of Western aggression. The greatest existential test arrived in 1949 with the rise of communist rule. The new government moved swiftly to eliminate independent religious influence, forcibly splitting the Catholic Church in two. In place of Vatican-approved leadership, the state created the Chinese Patriotic Catholic Association, or the CPCA. This organization promoted a sanitized, state-controlled version of Catholicism, completely cut off from the Pope and the international church. Thousands of priests, nuns, and lay believers flatly refused to accept this compromised version of the faith. They went completely underground, and they paid a heavy price: arrest, intense surveillance, and exile. This painful division between the state-sanctioned church and the fiercely loyal underground church remains the defining tension in Chinese Catholicism today. Even a controversial 2018 agreement between the Vatican and China to jointly appoint bishops has not entirely healed the fracture. While some praised the move as a step toward cooperation, others feared it compromised the church's spiritual integrity. Yet, through all of this, the faith did not disappear. It simply went deeper. In China's hyper-competitive modern society, where human worth is often measured strictly by material success and intense competition, a massive spiritual void has opened up. A growing number of young people and highly educated intellectuals are turning to the Catholic Church, seeking an antidote to the constant noise of modern consumerism. For many intellectuals, scientists, and writers, the Church offers a robust philosophical tradition stretching from St. Augustine to St. Thomas Aquinas to Pope John Paul II. This tradition perfectly bridges reason and belief, inspiring those who once thought religion and intellect couldn't coexist. The conversion stories are incredibly profound. One university professor did not find the church through theological arguments, but through beauty. He stumbled upon Gregorian chant almost by accident, and the solemn, haunting tones echoed through his soul in a way academic theories never could. Drawn by this inexplicable pull, he turned to the Confessions of St. Augustine, finding a kindred spirit who wrestled with the exact same restlessness. What began as mere intellectual curiosity became a life-altering spiritual encounter. Far from the bustling cities, the Catholic faith is fiercely guarded in the quiet Chinese countryside. In these remote hamlets, there are no grand cathedrals. Instead, Homes rotate like chapters in an unwritten gospel. Secret masses are held one night in a kitchen, the next in a barn, and sometimes outdoors beneath the hush of midnight trees to avoid state detection. In one profound instance, a rural family struggling through intense hardship crossed paths with a discreet underground priest. Without fanfare, the priest baptized their child in secret, an act of incredible courage and mercy that touched the deepest corners of their hearts. Equally powerful is the growing embrace of Catholicism among China's ethnic minorities, such as the Miao, Yi, and Mongol peoples. Often left out of national narratives, these indigenous communities have found profound affirmation in the gospel. Through patient pastoral outreach and translation efforts, Christianity has woven itself directly into their native languages, songs, and cultural memories, enriching their identities rather than erasing them. Even under the heavy hand of state surveillance, with laws limiting public gatherings and technology censoring religious content, Chinese Catholics continue to adapt. In urban areas where scrutiny is most intense, small groups of believers gather secretly in apartments or coffee shops to read scripture. Meanwhile, smartphones glow in the dark, live streaming overseas masses into makeshift domestic churches. A simple wooden stool becomes a tabernacle, an old mobile phone becomes a vital vessel of liturgical life. Amidst this quiet resistance stands a singular, defiant beacon, the Marian Shrine of Our Lady of Xishan, perched on a mountain slope outside Shanghai. Though official government oversight casts a long shadow over its existence, pilgrims return year after year, climbing the holy hill with absolute determination. The journey is undertaken in silence and secrecy, carrying a shared, burning longing for the freedom to worship. Shaysan has become more than a physical place. It is the undisputed, beating heart of the Chinese church, where devotion simply refuses to be silenced. Perhaps the most massive geopolitical shift occurring right now is taking place beyond China's borders. As international eyes turn toward the East, Chinese Catholics are stepping into global roles. Despite every obstacle, vocations to the priesthood and religious life are secretly on the rise. Because official seminaries are restricted, young Chinese men and women receive their theological formation in borrowed libraries and hidden study circles. This new generation is not staying hidden. They are pursuing theological education in Rome, Manila, the United States, and Latin America. They are not mere converts waiting to be guided. They are rugged, disciplined missionaries whose faith has been forged under extreme pressure. Church analysts are now asking a daring question. Could China, long seen strictly as a mission territory, become the world's newest center for missionary sending? In a society that rewards obedience and uniformity, a quiet revolution is unfolding in the stillness of private lives. It is not marked by loud protests, but by a terrifyingly silent devotion. An elderly grandmother gently places a rosary into the palms of her grandchild. A professor leans closely over the texts of Aquinas. A group of young believers kneels before the Eucharist in a candle-lit cellar. This church does not rely on privilege or political power. It is built on pure perseverance. Do you believe the underground Chinese church will eventually reshape global Christianity? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the hidden history of the faith.